All right, hi everyone, and welcome to this week's product training with Blue Triangle. Today we're going to talk about how you can implement the Blue Triangle SDK in your native app to begin tracking performance for various events in your app, as well as things like app crashes. Our SDK comes with both an Android and iOS implementation, and today we're going to walk through each of those. All right, so my name is Mark, and I'm the support manager here at Blue Triangle. And today I'm joined by Julian Wilkinson, who is going to be leading you through the training today. So I'm going to go ahead now and hand it over to Julian to get us started.
Hello, my name is Julian. I'm one of the developers at Blue Triangle. Today we're going to be going over our SDK, or Native Blue app. I'll do it in 3 parts. The first part is going to be going over Android Studio and how to implement our SDK with an Android app using Java. The second part is going to be how to implement our SDK with iOS using Objective-C. Then the third part, we're going to go over how to analyze your data inside the portal. So let's get started. We're going to create a new project with 2 activities, and the user can navigate between the 2 activities. Using the SDK, we're going to go ahead and track the user's usage using the tracker and timer classes of the SDK. So to get started, we're going to click New Project. You can also open your existing project to do this. I'm going to pick Basic Activity. I'm going to name my application Demo SDK. The language is Java. Our SDK is compatible with Kotlin, but I'm using Java for simplicity's sake this time around. Minimum SDK, I'm going to pick API 23. This generally doesn't matter. We don't use any specific APIs inside our SDK, but the most common one is this API 23, which is 84.9% of devices. So I went ahead and went with that one. So I'll click Finish. This will build our project. The first files that we'll want to go over is our Gradle scripts. We'll go over to Build Gradle. And under All Projects, we're going to add a new Maven repository. The Blue Triangle repository is as follows. The URL is bluetrianglesdk.jfrog.io/artifactory, which is the service we're using, and the package name is Android SDK Local. The next part, we're going to go over our module build Gradle, and we're going to implement our new dependency. Our dependency's name is as follows. It's bluetriangle.sdk.package. The package name is Analytics, and the version is 2.6.0 currently. You can get the current version by heading over to our Artifactory website. The Artifactory website is bluetrianglesdk.jfrog.io. Then you're going to want to navigate over to Artifacts, click the Android SDK Local artifact, click the Blue Triangle package, go to SDK Package Analytics, and below Analytics should be all our different versions. Right now there's only one, 2.6.0, and that's the current version. Go over to our project again. I'll go ahead and sync our dependencies, and I'll hide this tip. I'll head over to my app. I'm going to want to add another activity. so that we have something to navigate to. I'll just leave it main activity 2. I'll head over to our main activity. I'll import the blue triangle tracker class. I'll implement the class inside our main activity. I'll call my tracker. Inside the onCreate, I'll implement the tracker and initialize it. When you initialize tracker, it needs the application context. And you'll also need your site ID. Your site ID you can get from your account representative. In my case, my site ID is this. Now that we have a tracker, let's go ahead and use this fab button that's default to this application and remove the default action. We'll make a new intent. So I'll call the intent. We'll want to go from our main activity to main activity 2. Now that we have that set up, we need to figure out how we're going to track this usage. The way we track usage with the Blue Triangle SDK is with a timer. So let's go ahead and import the Blue Triangle timer. Now that we have timer imported, let's go ahead and use our timer to collect usage data from our users. So we'll create a new timer. Final. Call it timer. The timer actually has a page name and a traffic segment to keep track of this data. So for the page name, I'll call it main activity to main activity 2. That way it's pretty descriptive as to what this action is doing. And then for the traffic segment, I'll call it testing, because we're not on a, we're just doing this traffic segment for testing. We're going to keep it separate from our main data. All right, now that we have our timer, we'll go ahead and start our timer. By starting a timer, it'll give you a start epoch as to when this user clicked this button. In order to collect more data after the intent, we're going to have to go ahead and send our timer over to the next activity that the user navigated to. The way we do this is intent put extra. And then we're going to do timer, extra timer. And then we'll go ahead and send over our timer. Now that we have our timer sent over to our new intent, let's go ahead and navigate our user over to the new activity. Over to main activity 2. Let's go ahead and import the blue triangle timer. In our main activity, we'll want to implement a new timer. In the onCreate method of this activity, we're going to want to set our timer from the intent. We now have our timer data from the first activity. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to override the onResume method of this activity. So in the onResume, I'm going to do timer.setField, and I'm going to collect a custom variable. We do that by calling the custom variable CV1, and there's CV1 through 10 that can be set, and then this can be any string value. You can also set a custom number. Set a custom number, it's CN 1 through 10. And this can be any numeric value. Another thing you can do is end your timer so that you can have an end epoch so that you know when this event finished. Then you can submit your timer. Submitting your timer submits this data to our portal. The last thing we could do is set up app crash tracking. The way you do that is we'd go back to our main activity, find where we first initialized tracker, and then call the method track crashes in tracker. This will automatically collect crash data from this app. Now that we have everything set up, let's go ahead and play our app and send some data to the portal. So our main activity, let's go back. Let's just do this a couple of times, just to send a few data points over to the portal. You can tell that the timer submitted by the logs here. And that's it. That's how you send data to the portal. We'll go ahead and move on to iOS. I'll stop this app for now. Okay, so for the second part of this, we're going to go ahead and go over how to implement the SDK in iOS. To save a little bit of time, I've already set up a project. It's a basic iOS project using Objective-C. And then to set up the project, I created a pod file using pod init. And then after I I had a pod file, then I included the blue triangle pod by doing this here. And there's some more detailed instructions about how to do that on our website, along with a longer video. After you do the pod, then you do a pod install, and it'll install our blue triangle pod. Once you have that installed, you can see our library got imported into our project. The next part of that would be to add the foundation framework and make sure that it's in the iOS folder. So now that we have all that set up, and we have our pod project set up, we'd go ahead and go over to our app delegate. We would import the blue triangle library using the blue triangle.h header, which is an umbrella header file, and that'll load all the classes in. After we do that, then we're able to use the tracker class. So here we'd call the BTT tracker and make a shared tracker, and then use the method set site ID. And then here we'd set our site prefix, and this would be the same prefix from the Android demo that I did before. And then after you set your site prefix, we can call the track crash method, and that would automatically track your app crashes and send it to the Blue Triangle portal. The timer is the same as the Java timer. This class is called BTT timer, or BT timer rather. And then I just call my timer. And the same thing with the Java version. You set the timer with a page name and a traffic segment. And then from there, you can call setField and call a custom and create a custom variable, which is this is a custom string variable in this case. And then likewise, you can actually call a custom number, and then we'll just go like that. And then we'll have to go ahead and change that from a string. So we can go int. There we go. That should fix that. Maybe not. Oh, it's because we're doing string value. Integer value. There we go. We learned together. Okay, and that's how you'd set a custom number. So from there, we can actually start the timer, and that'll give us our start epoch for whatever event we're trying to capture. And then calling the BT tracker submit timer and sending this timer will actually simultaneously end the timer and give us an end epoch and send it to our Blue Triangle portal. So in between here, we can either track an API call, or like in the previous example, we can actually track a click event. Now that we have everything set up, let's go ahead and play our project. If we take a look in Xcode inside our log, we can see that Blue Triangle Objective-C example went ahead and made an HTTP request, and the status was 200. That means that our timer got submitted to the portal. Now let's move on to taking a look at how to look at our data inside the portal. When you log into the portal, navigate to Real User and Performance Detail. Then you'll get a page similar to this. You can adjust your time period and all the usual filters in the regular portal. The other filter that you're going to want to turn on is Native App. This will show you all the native app data. On mode is your timings for your native app timers. So this is the average timing for all of your timers that you set up in your native app. If you scroll down, we'll have timings over time. And then we'll try to pick a section here. See if we can get some scatter plot data. Let's see, we'll adjust our time period. Now we got some scatter plot data, and you can select specific points. And you can see your page name, your browser, your region, and you can filter through all these things. And here is a custom variable. Here's your session. Now the session is important for the customer journey analysis because it'll track the user session through the page names and see where they traveled through your app. Now in this case, this is a crash timer. So if we go over to Real User and Errors Explorer, which I have open here, we can actually view all of the crashes that happen inside our native apps. With the same filters, you would go down here and you would select the native app filter. Here you can see the general errors, native apps, and web errors. Your unique errors, in this case we have 20 native app crashes, the locations the errors happened, the domain in native app world is the name of your application, and then the top pages is actually the page names of your timers. Top devices, this will just say mobile for your native apps. And then your top OS will tell you iOS or Android. Browsers is not applicable for a native app. This is the errors over time, so you can compare what's happening. And down here, you can actually see the crash report that got sent over to Blue Triangle. Now I already kind of showed you this customer journey analysis. If you go over to marketing, customer journey analysis, that's where that lives. You go to the filters, select the native app filter, and that'll show you all of the top paths for your native apps. In this case, our app was pretty simple. There was only 2 pages. We navigated from page 1 to page 2, and that's one of the top paths. Thank you for listening.
Awesome. Thank you, Julian. So I'm going to pull back up the slides that I had, and we're going to go ahead and run through a few questions that came in. So the first one I saw, I'll go ahead and ask you, Julian. What is the delay between data sent to Blue Triangle and it appearing in the dashboards? And the follow-up, is the delay the same for all the data types sent, like crash versus other timers?
Yeah, so it takes about 2 minutes for the data to show up in the portal. Sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more, depending on how big the packet size is. And then the delay is the same for both types of data, both crashes and timers.
Okay. Okay, we had another question. What's the minimum SDK that's required for this?
So there's no real minimum SDK because we don't use any specific SDKs inside our library. So we haven't experienced any problems with any SDK versions.
Okay, great. Another one. So will it affect my application's performance?
So it would not affect your application's performance because the timers are submitted on a different thread and they're also asynchronous.
Excellent. All right. It looks like the last one we have here is your SDK compatible with Swift?
Our SDK is compatible with Swift. There's a bridging header inside our library that allows Swift to communicate with it.
Excellent. As a matter of fact, I just wanted to point out, you can find the documentation for the SDK in our Help Center. And that's help.bluetriangle.com. It's the question mark icon when you get to, if you're inside of Blue Triangle. And if you go to documentation, scroll to the bottom, there's SDK for Android and iOS. There's tutorials for Swift and Java, as well as Kotlin and Objective-C for Android and iOS. So that's where you can find that documentation. All right, so it looks like that's all we have for you guys today. Thank you for your time. And if you do have any more questions, we're happy to speak with you offline. So feel free to reach out to us anytime. You can reach us here in support@bluetriangle.com. And you can also submit a request or a question in our help center at help.bluetriangle.com. And for more information about Blue Triangle product training, like how to watch past sessions or how to register for upcoming ones, be sure to check out our Help Center. Again, I'll say it again, that's help.bluetriangle.com. And when you're there, just click the big button on the homepage for product training. All right. Thanks again, everyone, for your time, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day.